and immediately she made that revelation, she was struck by an unusual madness. From that day on, Amma roamed the streets of the village mad, telling everyone who cared to listen that she was the queen of the village. The people laughed at her as they named her the Mad Queen, and for years, the royal family did nothing about her madness. Once upon a time, in a very great kingdom, lived the great and mighty King Obidike. King Obidike was a very feared king who had only one son. His son, Prince Uchenna, was the apple of his father's eyes and the heir apparent to the throne. When the prince had grown, King Obidike ordered that his son should never be seen outside the palace grounds, as he didn't want any harm to befall him. Being the heir apparent to the throne, Prince Uchenna never disputed his father's orders. He was a very respectable boy who spent most of his time with his mother, the queen, who showed him undivided attention. However, one day, tragedy struck and the queen fell terribly ill. The whole palace was unable to figure out what was wrong with the queen. They consulted several healers who tried all they could to heal the queen, but all their efforts proved futile as the queen's illness persisted. Prince Uchenna was so worried about the state of health of his mother, the queen. One night, a palace maiden approached the prince to inform him of a powerful man who lived in a distant land who would be able to heal the queen, and Prince Uchenna, in a bid to save his mother's life, snuck out of the palace the next morning in search of the powerful man. His father, the king, had no idea that his son had left the palace grounds, as Prince Uchenna ensured that no one knew that he was away. He disguised himself as he walked the streets of the village for the very first time in his life, and despite being scared of the unknown, Prince Uchenna was determined to find the powerful man who had the power to save his dear mother's life. On his way, Prince Uchenna came across a mad woman who seemed to recognize who he was. She ran after him as she called out his name, and this terrified Prince Uchenna, who took to his heel in fear. Prince Uchenna could not understand why a mad woman was running after him, so he ran as fast as his legs could carry him, and after a few minutes, he noticed that the mad woman was no longer on his trail. Prince Uchenna followed the maiden's direction and arrived a very small hut in the forest. He met the powerful man, who looked at him and smiled. The powerful man told Prince Uchenna that his life was in two parts and that he had only been exposed to one side. The powerful man told Prince Uchenna to open up his heart to receive that which was coming, and the prince was confused as he had no idea what the powerful man was talking about. After this revelation, the prince narrated his mother's condition to the powerful man, who gave him some herbs to give to her. The prince thanked the powerful man as he rushed back to his palace. It was already getting dark, and the prince could not stop thinking about what the powerful man said to him. He wondered what he meant and hoped that as the days came by, he would gain more clarity on the revelation. By the time the prince arrived at the palace, his mother was already dead. Prince Uchenna fell to the ground as he groaned in extreme pain. The sudden death of the queen plunged the entire palace into mourning. King Obidike was devastated upon hearing about the death of his beloved wife. Prince Uchenna was now overcome with grief and guilt for not being able to return in time with the herbs. He felt a heavy burden on his young shoulders as he blamed himself for taking too long. If only I hastened my steps, my beloved mother wouldn't have died, He said aloud as he burst into tears. Prince Uchenna had never felt this much pain in his life and struggled to find solace. Not long after his mother's death, on one fateful night, Prince Uchenna had a dream where he saw his father, the king, being surrounded by strange people who called him a thief. Prince Uchenna woke up so confused as he could not understand the meaning of his dream. He decided to speak to his father, the king, about all that had been happening to him, and his father, although concerned, told Prince Uchenna that he had no idea what the revelations meant. Prince Uchenna decided to pay the powerful man a visit again to plead for more clarity on his revelation. He snuck out of the palace, disguised as he walked the streets of his village. On his way, Prince Uchenna came across the mad woman again. This time, he decided not to run away, but summoned the courage to approach the mad woman. Filled with fear, Prince Uchenna stuttered as he spoke to the mad woman, asking how she knew who he was. The mad woman smiled at him as she called out his name repeatedly. Prince Uchenna noticed how excited the mad woman was to see him and wondered how she knew who he was, considering the fact that no one in the village knew what he looked like. Determined to find answers to his question, Prince Uchenna decided to take the mad woman to the powerful man's hut, as he believed that the powerful man would have answers to his question. He journeyed with the mad woman to the powerful man's hut in the forest, and the mad woman never stopped calling out his name all through the way. After a few minutes, they arrived at the powerful man's hut, and immediately the powerful man set his eyes on the mad woman. He reiterated what he told Prince Uchenna on the first day that they met. He said to the prince that his life was in two parts and that the mad woman represented the second part, which he was yet to explore. Prince Uchenna looked so confused at this point as he tried to wrap his head around all what the powerful man was saying. He asked the powerful man what he meant by what he said, and the powerful man told him that only his father, the king, held the answer to his question. Overwhelmed with emotions, Prince Uchenna returned back to the palace with the mad woman. All the palace maidens and guards were confused as they wondered what a mad woman was doing in the palace. The prince approached his father's chamber with the mad woman by his side, and immediately the king set his eyes on the mad woman. He screamed aloud, and Prince Uchenna realized that the mad woman regained her sanity immediately. "What is going on here?" Prince Uchenna asked aloud as he watched in confusion. His father looked so terrified, and the prince was so confused as he had never seen his father in such a state before. He turned to the mad woman and realized that she was no longer mad. The king then began to plead for mercy. He revealed to his son that the mad woman was his biological mother. What had happened was that many years ago, the king and his queen were unable to have a child. The whole kingdom anticipated the birth of an heir, but after so many years, no child was forthcoming. The king then decided to take on a second wife, but this idea did not sit well with the queen, who the king loved with all of his heart. However, the king could not stand having a child with a woman who he was not married to, because he knew that such a child would never be allowed to ascend the throne. So the king decided to secretly marry a woman who would bear him an heir. A young maiden by name Amma was chosen by the king to bear his son. King Obidike decided to marry Amma because of her family's history of having multiple children. Amma was the 12th child of her father, who had 17 children, of which 12 were boys. Her mother was believed to be one of the most fruitful women in the village, and this caught the attention of the king, who was so desperate to have an heir. King Obidike visited Ama's home with his chief priest to perform a secrecy ritual to prevent anyone from discussing anything about the marriage and child to anyone in the village, as anyone who dared to defile the rule would be struck by madness. Amma and her family swore the oath of secrecy, and a few days afterwards, a secret marriage ceremony was conducted between the king and Amma. Amma's family was so excited as their daughter was now married to the king. Although this was a secret, they basked in the euphoria of being acquainted with the king who took care of their every need. A few months later, Amma got pregnant and the king and his queen were over the moon. The whole village was informed that the queen was pregnant with child, and everyone jubilated as they held a grand feast to celebrate the royal conception. The queen was locked up in the palace during the duration of the entire pregnancy, and after 9 months, Amma gave birth to a handsome baby boy. Her birth was quite a challenging one, as she lost consciousness immediately the baby was born. However, by the time she regained consciousness, her baby had already been taken from her. Amma was so devastated as she never had the opportunity to hold her son in her arms. Her son was now in the arms of the queen, who claimed to be his mother. A grand feast was being performed, and Amma, unable to control her emotions, rushed to the palace to see her son. She arrived at the palace and began to scream that the baby boy was hers, and immediately she made that revelation, she was struck by an unusual madness. From that day on, Amma roamed the streets of the village mad, telling everyone who cared to listen that she was the queen of the village. The people laughed at her as they named her the Mad Queen, and for years, the royal family did nothing about her madness. Even her family members were terrified of what would happen if they ever told anyone the truth about Amma and the king. The king at this point was consumed by guilt and pleaded with his son Prince Uchenna to forgive him for his past actions. He revealed that he did what he did out of desperation, and this revelation left Prince Uchenna broken as he imagined all that his biological mother had to go through because of his father. The prince, filled with compassion for his mother, decided to tell the entire village the truth about his birth. The kingdom, still grieving the loss of their queen, was now thrust into deeper turmoil. As the truth unfolded, the people were shocked to learn about the secret marriage, the oath of secrecy, and the tragedy that befell Amma, the Mad Queen. Everyone was shocked to realize that the mad woman, who they referred to as the Mad Queen, was indeed the crown prince's mother. The king in that moment, when the whole village had gathered, apologized to Amma in the presence of the entire village. He apologized to her for his betrayal and pleaded for her forgiveness. Amma looked at the king with pain in her eyes as she began to weep uncontrollably. Amma could not believe that she had been mad for all these years. Her son, the prince, approached her with a warmth that she had never felt before, pleading for her to forgive his father, even though he did not deserve her forgiveness. Prince Uchenna revealed the importance of forgiveness in healing wounds and rebuilding broken bonds. The village, witnessing this emotional scene, began to understand the depth of the tragedy that had unfolded within the royal family. Amma, overwhelmed by a mix of emotions, took a moment to comport herself. The entire village waited in anticipation, their eyes shifting between the once mad queen and the remorseful king. With a deep breath, Amma stood tall, wiping away her tears. She looked at the king and spoke with a voice filled with both sorrow and strength. "I forgive you, King Obidike," she said, surprising the entire village. "For years, madness clouded my judgment, but today, the truth has set me free, and I forgive you." Amma's act of forgiveness stirred the hearts of the people, and a wave of compassion swept through the crowd. The king expressed gratitude with tears in his eyes. He pledged to make amends and sought the forgiveness of the entire kingdom for the pain caused by the deception. In the days that followed, the village witnessed the remarkable transformation of Amma, who took her rightful place in the palace as the mother of the crown prince. Amma was so grateful for the opportunity to be with her son, who she was denied access to for so many years. Their bond grew, and Prince Uchenna showed his mother love all the days of her life. The lesson to be learned from this story is that we should never take advantage of others, as the consequences of deception can be severe and far reaching. Always remember that nothing remains hidden under the sun, so we should always be cautious of the decisions we make. I hope you enjoyed the story.
Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.